This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center.
Summertime brings lots of excitement and fun, but for some kids and families, the transition to summer can be, well, difficult. Schedules are changing, routines are out the window. That can spell trouble in this time of transition. We'd like to welcome back to Delmarva Life the CEO of For All Seasons. This is Beth Ann Langrel. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Glad to be here.
We were talking about this before the cameras rolled. It can be a stressful time. Many kids feel dismayed, even saddened with what's going on because of working families. Do you see this?
Absolutely. You know, this is a hard time. It's an exciting time because school is ending, but you know, families are having to shift schedules. Moms, dads, and caregivers are having to adjust and pivot and plan differently. You know, when school time is in, you know your child's going to school from 7:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. Now it's about what camp are you going to? How are you getting there? Does the camp hours match with the work hours? Is there a camp available? Is it a family who might not be able to afford to go to camp? And how do you navigate all of those schedules? It's just a stressful time all around.
Yeah.
And a joyful time because school's over.
Exactly. So how can we help our kids with this transition?
So one of the things that's really important for our kids is structure. Structure is so important, and the school day provides lots of that structure. You know, bedtimes are important, and when we think about summertime, sometimes we think about free schedules a little bit differently. And so really being able to make sure that we're giving our children some consistency and structure within the day, and checking in with your child to see how they're doing. You know, just the simple thing of, how are you doing? Because, you know I have a 5th grader who's going into middle school next year, moving to a new school. Friends aren't necessarily all going to that school. And so just sort of checking in and saying, let's set up some play dates. How are you going to stay connected to your friends? Those conversations can be really important and very comforting for kids who might be feeling a different level of anxiety thinking about what's to come.
So it's a good idea to talk to our kids now about the upcoming school year?
Oh, absolutely. Because the more you can talk about it, the more you can have those genuine conversations, the less scary it becomes. You know, if schools are offering orientation programs, I encourage families to take up the opportunity for your child to go in, even if it's just a day or two, so that they can get their feet wet. If those programs are not available, you can certainly contact the school and say, can we just come do a walkthrough? You know, new spaces, things that are unknown can be super stressful to kids. And so that's a really important component of a summer transition.
But we can't lose sight of summer fun.
Exactly.
We still need to just kind of be laid back and have fun this summer for our kids.
Yeah, and you know, summer fun doesn't always have to be expensive. Summer fun doesn't always have to be grand. You know, you could take a trip to, the Strand in Oxford, which might be just a drive from here, or find some place where you can just go and spend some time as a family. There may be areas of the shore that you haven't explored. Maybe it's a movie night. You know, we have, at my house, we do jammy movie nights, and so we know that it's a no phone zone, all phones go away. And that is a really inexpensive way to spend some good time together.
And it's okay for our kids to be bored.
Oh my goodness, yes. And screen time is not always the solution to the boredom. You know, kids need to be able to find how to self-regulate, and they need to be able to find how to create activities for themselves that don't rely on a phone, an iPad, and a television. You know, the age-old time of let's go out and just play kickball or go out in the yard and find and explore. Those are things that it's okay for kids to have, and downtime becomes so important. Sometimes our kids are so overscheduled that they are just going from thing to thing to thing. So when you're structuring your time with your child, build in the do whatever you want time. You know, we don't want to limit so much screen time that children find ways to go behind our backs, or they're not really conscious of how long they've been on their screen. Timers become important, but that just plain old downtime is just as important.
And of course, if you do need help, if it's not working out, it's okay to reach out.
Yeah, you know, our agency works with parents all the time just to give advice. You might work with other families. I think one of the things for families that's just continuing to be super important is what works for your family might not work for mine. And so we need to be mindful that we can share ideas and we can share tips and tools, but we need to figure out what works for us, and it may take us a couple of times. And keeping your kids engaged in that conversation and saying like, hey, you know what, yesterday didn't go so hot. Let's try a new plan today.
All right, CEO of For All Seasons, Beth Ann Langrel. Thank you. You always have so much good information.
Well, I'm glad to be here and help to share.